Good afternoon and welcome to the WebPresented webcast today. We would like to turn this over to Amanda Cachello and to James Gertis, and go ahead and take it away.
Thanks very much. This is James Gertis speaking from WebPresented. I'm joined here with Jeff Phillips and Amanda Cachello. And today I'm going to take you through a brief demonstration of the quoting capabilities in WebPresented's flagship product, WPCRM. I'm going to keep this talk to roughly 30 minutes. I'm going to break it into two parts. First of all, I'm going to talk about the basic quoting capabilities that are built into our application. And then I'm going to talk about a specific case study of one of our customers who's a Infor ERP customer who's been live with our quoting application for a couple of years now, and who's really stretched it to beyond what we initially even dreamed of how it can be used. And it's now an end-to-end quoting application that the entire business of Shaw Packaging uses. So very briefly then, I'll start out by introducing our product and our business. I'll talk a little bit about the integration of ERP data into our CRM, our basic CRM platform. And then I'm going to focus heavily on the quoting application in terms of creating quotes, adding items to quotes, the predictive analytics that go into deciding what items to select on quotes, and all other capabilities that surround the quoting process. So very briefly, WebPresented, we've been, as you can see here, supporting TUG for 11 years now. We're very huge advocates for TUG. We attend every conference, we're a sponsor, and we're very much ingrained in the community. We find it a very unique community in the sense that ERP users across different industries really gain a lot of value from the organization. That's great, and it's good news and bad news from a vendor's perspective. Good news is that our customers can share, we can understand different needs, we can get a lot of collaboration between customers. The bad news, not from our perspective, but in general, is that there's no hiding. There's no, every customer is going to share their story. And we're very pleased to say at WebPresented that TUG, our standing within TUG and the number of customers we have is over 100 customers of ours that are running Infor ERP. The vast majority of those are TUG members. And customer feedback, customer communication is our #1 source of new business. So what I'll say is absolutely listen to what I have to say now. But by all means, if you're looking for references, if you're not using our platform and interested in using our platform, please reach out to other folks either on the call or other customers who use the WebPresented quoting tool for a real true-to-life understanding of how our product is used day in, day out, battle-tested in the field. WebPresented started out as a consulting firm. We used to do custom enhancements, modifications to Infor ERP platforms. We basically evolved throughout the course of the last 15 years or so to become a product development house. We focused initially on CRM, and now quoting is a huge part of our application. We are the sole quoting module for several of our customers. Several of our customers don't use the CRM capabilities of WebPresented's tool belt, but just use it for quoting application. What sets us apart from other quoting tools or CRM or BI tools is the level of integration we have. So not only do we a world-class user experience that is fun to use, it's exciting, it's interesting to use, and it's fast and responsive, but we also provide in-depth integration back into the Infor ERP system. So everything that you can see in our application ties back in real time to the back-end ERP system. Some of the advantages of using WebPresented as a quoting tool over simply keying items into the ERP system are the ability to create a beautiful, nice-looking quote, the ability to take information offline and build quotes while you're out in the field, and then upload those quotes as orders back into the ERP system later on. The workflow capabilities, in other words, involving multiple people in your business in the quoting process. So you effectively pass a quote from sales to customer service back to purchasing, and then back to the customer. It's all integrated within our system. Like I mentioned before, we provide value to our users, and we hang our hat on how easy to use the tool is. Real briefly, why do we exist? Well, we offer a competitive advantage to our customers in the wholesale distribution space. Not only do we create efficiencies and save a lot of time within processes by using our very smooth workflow tools, but we also help to customize the experience for each and every one of your customers. And I always start with this simple slide. You're very familiar with the Netflix screen here, but Netflix is a great example of a customized experience for each of your customers. And this is relevant in the quoting space as well. For example, if your customer is asking you for specific items, you want to know what other items other customers have purchased alongside those items at the time that you're quoting a product for your customer. And I'll show you how we do a similar type of algorithm, similar metrics that Netflix uses in the WPCRM quoting space. We like to involve all different members of the organization within our quoting process. So whereas traditionally maybe the account manager, the sales rep, or even inside sales would work on a quote, we now change that paradigm and allow all different members of your team to interact with the customer. Specifically on the quoting side, not only sales reps, account managers, but your customer service team, inside sales, managers are involved in approval processes. And even if you choose to, you can involve your purchasing team to source non-stock items, to source any kind of purchasing requirements that go into the quoting process. Okay, that being said, I'm going to jump over now to a live product demo. Like I mentioned, I'm going to break this into a couple different sections. And I'm going to start off with some simple capabilities of WPCRM. So you'll see here that I've logged in to the CRM tool. I'm going to immediately jump to the quoting tab. And the quoting tab is where we start when we're building a quote. Obviously, I can create a new quote from scratch, and this can now, if I create a new quote, it's going to ask me for a customer. Let's just go ahead and type in the first few characters of the customer name or customer number. And then we automatically search out contacts that are associated with that customer. We default to the default contact, but also pull in contacts from various disparate sources, whether these contacts exist in the ERP system or on my mobile phone, or even in Outlook. We have the ability to bring in the relevant contacts to this particular quote. Once I start the quote, we've gone out to the ERP system and we've pre-populated this quote with everything on the header. So for example, we know the customer's customer number, we know the warehouse, we know the credit status, as well as additional information like what are this customer's terms, what's the default expiration date, what template does this quote typically use when we're sending them this particular quote. Pre-populated mostly comes from the ERP as well as customer or user specific items. And now we have a quote ready to go. Take a step back before actually creating a quote and show you some of the other peripheral tools that go into WPCRM. Well, anybody who's quoting needs fast and easy access to products or items that are in your inventory. And whether they're a customer-specific warehouse or their catalog products or even non-stock products that we've previously entered, your sales reps or whoever's entering a quote needs fast and accessible access to all of your inventory. So in this particular case, I'm going to choose a product category. I'm going to go ahead and choose hubs and switches as the category. I want to know all my products in that particular category. And you can see we've gone out to the ERP system and we've pulled in a lot of information. We have 199 matching products in that particular category. Now, of course, I can filter this down further by vendor. I can filter it based on a customer's prior purchases. If I wanted to, I can just pull in a full order history for a single customer and download it to a spreadsheet, create an order guide, send it to my customer and ask them how many of each item they want. I can filter by advanced filters. For example, the date last ordered. I can filter by product attributes such as weight, size, color. Any of those items that you tag in your PIM or in your ERP system can be pulled in as filters into our product search. Additionally, I can pull in columns into my search. I can save these columns. So in this particular case, I've got a fairly limited, simple set of columns back. But for example, if I wanted to bring in what product line each item is, what was the current availability, what's the list price of each product, what's the specific customer price, I can pull those items in again. Now, quick note here, if I wanted to look at for a specific customer, let's go ahead and pull in our customer. We're now going to filter products that this customer's previously purchased. I can click on any one of these items, and it'll pre-populate our pricing and inventory screen with not only this customer's information, but also that particular item. I can see here in real time, going out against the ERP system, what's the customer's price for this item? What's our margin on this particular item? What's the availability not only in this customer's warehouse, but also in other warehouses if this customer wants to order the product? I can also see if there's other replacement products, complementary products. I can find out what other customers purchased who also buy this particular product. Very easy for me, again, from the product search screen to click on an item and find out pricing and availability. Now, let's just say my customer wants to receive a price list on all their historical purchases. Or maybe we want to take all of these items in our hubs and switches category and create a new quote. You'll notice as I click on each item, as I select an item in our product searching, we're starting to update our number of items selected, and it's going to ask me if I want to go ahead and add these items to a quote. If in this case I add the items to our new quote that we've recently created, we'll go out in real time to the ERP system and get this customer's specific pricing for those items. Again, if contract prices in place, if you have special pricing agreements, any rebates involved, all of that information is going to come into the quote in real time and populate information. As we're going, as I'm building my quote, I've got 5 items added to my quote. We're working on a pretty healthy margin at this point in time. So not only have I shown you how we do a lookup of products, how we can easily add products to our quote, but also how we get real-time pricing and availability based on any item and any particular product for any specific customer. So far so good. We're starting to build a quote for our customer. Let's go ahead and add another item. As I start typing the part number or the lookup name or even the customer's part number, we get a list of items that are matching. Let's go ahead and click on this particular item and see what other information is given to us. Now, of course, I can immediately add this item to our quote based on the units of measure that are set up in your ERP system, but I can also look at current inventory. Again, it reaches out into the ERP system, gets real-time availability. But significantly and importantly, what you're also going to see is other products that customers have purchased who also purchased this item. So just as if you sell warranties that go along with pieces of equipment, or if there's consumables, let's say I'm buying a printer and there's certain inks that go along with that printer. Those items are going to show up purely based on historical sales that you've made to your existing customers. We can draw those associations and understand customers who typically buy this product also usually buy these items. So again, we're buying this spray adhesive mist. Well, that usually goes alongside this white white material. So let's go ahead and add a dozen yards of that material onto our quote at the same time. Clicking the add button, again, goes out to the ERP system using a real-time API call and connects and adds those items to our quote. Very easy to use, and I can now move on to my next item. Before I start getting into more advanced features like non-stock items and importing line items, let me just show you a couple little nice features that WebPresented has. As we're looking at a specific customer, in this case we're looking at Transcend Techno as our customer, we may also want to look for opportunities of new business. It's all very well printing off a sheet of products that a customer has previously ordered and asking them if they want to reorder those products. But in some cases, there may be items out there or opportunities that the customer is not placing an order that they currently should be. We call it the white space analysis. And if I click on the Analytics tab, what you're going to see in addition to various metrics of this particular customer is a section called Suggested Products. And this will, again, similar to the previous screen, based on a customer's purchases, we can make recommendations of what other products they should be purchasing that they're currently not purchasing. So I can see, for example, this customer's ordered split tape from us. Well, there's certain wipes or scrubs that go along with that tape. So let's go ahead and add that to our quote as well. Let's go ahead and add several other items. Again, because this customer's ordered these items and they're not ordering other complementary type items, we can analyze that using historical data from the ERP system and simply add those to our existing quote. Very easy to do, very easy to use. Once I save this quote, it's going to assign the quote a quote ID or quote number. Right now, this quote just exists in the WebPresented solution. Until we finalize or send this quote, we're not going to write this quote back into the ERP system. But you'll notice at the top, there's a couple blue buttons, and these are the primary action buttons that are associated with this quote. Of course, I could send this quote to my customer. Obviously, it's going to send a nice looking email with a cover sheet, with a logo, everything like that associated with it. Or I can simply send them a spreadsheet of the line items on this quote and ask them to fill that in, how many they wish to order. Alternatively, I could just simply click on the Create Order button, and that'll push this order back into the ERP system as a sales order so that there's no other hands-on needed, no other touches. We immediately save time and duplicate entry of all these items, and we immediately have an order pushed into our ERP system. A couple nice little other features to show you. Let's just say I've built a nice customer, a list of products for my customer that I want to then go ahead and send to them, and they're going to fill out the quantities that they want. We call that a buying guide or an order sheet. By clicking on the export button, I'm going to go ahead and export this quote, the 7 items on this quote, to what's called a buying guide or a sell sheet. You'll notice that it downloads as a nice looking spreadsheet. It's branded. It has our logo. It has the customer's information on here. It has the quantity suggested, the quantity available, the price for each item. But there's a yellow column on our spreadsheet. I just bumped that up to see it a little clearer. There's a yellow column that allows the customer to come in here, or even the sales rep if they're offline, to come in and place an order and tell me how many of each item they want to order. So let's just go ahead and fill out some quantities in this item, and you can see that it updates the total price accordingly. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. This is a buying guide that can be saved offline. It can be emailed to my customer. It can be emailed back. It's all done using spreadsheet. We also work with Google Sheets as well. But all this information is saved offline so that now when I come to update my quote, I can simply import this order sheet. And let's just go ahead and bring up my list of downloads here. I'll just bring in that particular order sheet that we just worked with. Here's our buying guide. And I simply drag that onto my quote. Let's try that again. Simply drag this onto my quote. Sorry, my hands are a little sticky here. Let's go ahead and try again. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and choose it rather than drag it. So I'm going to go ahead and upload that file from my list of recent files in my downloads. And once I upload that guide, obviously all the quantities that the customer has now ordered or that my customer requires is going to be uploaded into the quote. Again, repriced based on pricing from our ERP system, based on the new quantities available. Very easy to use, easy to manage. Now, the final formatted version of my quote is going to look great. You can design templates exactly how you want. You can put your logo on them. You can designate which columns and items you want on your quote. And so here's an example of what this particular quote is going to look like. It's going to have our line items. It's going to have page breaks. It's going to have headers across pages, etc., with your logo, with your branding, however you decide to use it. Now, let's just say we want to edit the pricing on this quote. This particular item here, where they're ordering 20 of them, we're working on a healthy 50% margin here, but my customer's bulking at that price. They want it at a different price. So let's just say we want to go ahead and offer them a discount here. I'm going to offer them a 20% discount. Just by keying in a discount, it automatically recalculates the margin we're working on, the markup level, as well as a new fixed item price, and all of the quote gets updated accordingly. Of course, we have approval mechanisms built around our system. So, for example, you might not want certain certain sales reps to go below special margin thresholds based on items, based on product classes, product groups. We have a lot of that security and even a approval workflow built into WPCRM that allows us to manage who can and can't change various items and see various items on the quote. In this particular case, we'll give them a 20% discount. We've still got a 46% margin, and let's just go ahead and update that particular item as needed. You can see the quote gets recalculated, the margin on a quote gets updated accordingly. Now, a couple other nice little features. Again, by editing any line item, I can now choose whether or not I want to include a product image on that line item. Well, that one's not particularly nice product image. Let's go ahead and pull this product up to the top here. I'm having a problem dragging things today on my phone. And let's go ahead and include this particular product image, which again ties back into your e-commerce website and pulls in not only images, but also maybe attachments, maybe spec sheets, maybe installation instructions, that kind of information. I can choose, if I want to actually include the product image on the line item on my quote. You can set that as a default if you have an image come across. So now, if I was to re-download that quote, you can see that when I open the finished version of the quote, our product image is going to come across. It shows the customer exactly what they're going to buy. Again, real nice that you don't get that outside of a typical ERP system. In terms of management of products and items on your quote, of course, we have the ability to drag items back and forth, but we also have the ability to group items together. So, for example, if I wanted to create a group called paint supplies, it breaks down those items under a group header. I can apply margins, or I can apply specific pricing logic to a single group. I can even take a group and break that group out into its own specific quote. I can duplicate line items. I can even create orders from specific line items. So if you send a large quote to your customer and they just want specific line items or specific groups to go into an order, I can create an order from specific selected line items or groups as needed. At the group level, I can collapse that information and I can choose whether or not I want to show, for example, the subtotal of this group, or even I can create groups almost like kits where you can enter a group and actually hide the contents of that group and just send that group as its own singular line item to the customer. The customer doesn't necessarily know all the components that make up that group or that kit, but for purposes of sending this back to the ERP system, we're keeping track of all the SKUs, all the item numbers that go into that particular group. A lot of other nice formatting capabilities at the group level as well. So far, we've been dealing very easily with items that are in your inventory, and that's obviously for distribution companies. Mostly, a lot of them are managing products that they have in the warehouses in inventory. But there may be a case where you need to special order items, or a case where there's an item that you don't have in stock that you know you're going to have to acquire, but you need it in order to win your customer's business. So, for example, if I know that my customer needs a compressor and they need one of these, I can now start adding this to my quote, and this is a non-stock item. Description would go here as needed. Maybe it's a compressor, etc. I can choose a vendor, a product line, a product category as needed, or whatever your ERP requires. And now we've added our non-stock item to the quote, and it's going to go out looking as if it was a inventoried item. Now, of course, the advantages here. What are the advantages of putting this all together? Well, first of all, there's consistency between the quotes that go out to your customers. For example, if your sales reps are building their own quotes in Word, if they're building their own quotes in Excel, they may all look differently. You don't have control over the branding. You don't have consistency between terms and conditions or legalese that you need to put in each of your quotes. All of these are nicely controlled, and you have the ability to define what templates or what formats you're going to be sending out to your customer. Also, the advantage is with all quotes going through this system, you now have visibility into the entire quoting process. So, for example, I can do a search. If I'm a manager level, I can do a search on all the quotes in our system that have been sent out. I can filter this by which ones have been won, which ones have been lost, which quotes are expiring. I can do an analysis based on not only the individual, the sales rep, what they're selling or what they're quoting, but also the win or loss ratios between those particular customers, between those reps. As you can see, here's an example of one of our customers' dashboards. They do an analysis of how many quotes have been sent out in the last 30 days. How many were won, how many were lost, how many are still open. You can also see by region, what's the level of quotes that are sent out, what's the whole sales potential, what's the win-loss ratio by region, etc. Even at the customer level. So you can understand if you're doing a lot of quoting business with a single customer and you're not winning any of those quotes, maybe that's a waste of your time. Maybe you shouldn't be spending all of your time on that particular customer. So again, by putting all of this in a single system that's easy to use, that's easy for your reps to get the data in and manipulate the information by exporting it to Excel, by getting real-time pricing and inventory available from your ERP system, bundle it all together in a package that takes advantage of the predictive analytics that I've shown you in terms of the product associations, then it's an extremely powerful tool. I'm coming to the end of my 30 minutes. I had promised a little case study. I'm going to skip over that just for the sake of time. What I would say is if there is interest in seeing more, by all means reach out to myself or our sales department. Just contact sales or support at WebPresented.com. Gary will be able to give you information, or TUG will be able to provide information, but I'll put it up at the end of the slide as well. But I just want to leave with a little a true story that came from one of our customers. And this is a large distributor. They're run on Infor ERP based out of San Diego. They're a regional distributor. They have roughly 50 sales reps. They're about $100 million business. And less than a month after going live with WebPresented's quoting tool, I received an email from the owner of the business. And the owner of the business said, I just wanted you to see an email here from one of our sales reps. And the content of the email said that effectively the sales rep was out at his customer. He used the inbuilt map tools to get to his customer. He brought up his iPad in front of the customer. He turned it on what's called a customer safe mode, which basically is an area which hides the margin and information from his customer. And he was showing his customers some information about products that a new product line that this particular distributor had. Well, when the sales rep left the customer, he was in his car on the way home, and he stopped at the gas station. When he stopped, he looked at his phone. He had a text message from his customer saying, hey, I'm interested in getting a price on that new line of products that you sent over. Can you go ahead and send that to me? And the sales rep started pumping gas in his car, pulled out his iPad, and just in a couple of clicks, a couple of taps, was able to send that quote to the customer with real-time pricing and availability, using that customer's pricing, using the availability in the customer's warehouse, using images and product descriptions from ERP, automatically sent that email to the customer. Before that sales rep had finished pumping gas, the sales rep had received a text message from his customer saying, I love that quote. Why don't you go ahead and order one, or give me a sample size of about 12, I think it was, of that particular product. Again, the sales rep still had his iPad open, clicked the create order button. Before he had finished pumping gas, he was able to push that quote into an order, into the ERP system, and that's new business that was acquired with the ultimate of efficiency. So again, that's just one example of how this uses. That was a real case study of a real customer feedback that we received from our customers. We have over 100 customers in the Infor ERP space running on our CRM and quoting tool. And if there's any questions now, I would very much encourage you to key those questions into the questions section within the GoToWebinar application, and I'll be sure to answer any questions that come up.
Hello, everyone. This is Amanda. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them now, and we'll be sure to go through them. We had one while we were going, so we'll get started on that. So, as you think of them, please send them in. Does do quotes created in WP automatically create a quote in SX.e?
Okay, so understood. So effectively, there's different configurations how this works. By default, the quote that exists in WP does not get sent back to a QU in SX.e at this point. We do have a configuration that automatically populates that information, but we don't by default. You can choose to push this quote back into SX.e as a QU, or you can obviously click the Create Order button that pushes the information back into SX.e as an order. But by default, the quote lives and stands alone in WP until the sales rep chooses to push it back into SX.e.
Okay, next question. Does WPCRM integrate with both Infor SX.e and Infor Cloud Suite distribution?
Yes. So the answer to that question is yes. We have 2 customers right now in the process of going live with Cloud Suite distribution. We've built out the APIs to work with the ION APIs. They're already completely built. Systems up and running. We've not gone live with either one, but that's not because of our information. That's because they haven't gone live with CSD themselves. But yes, we're fully compatible with Cloud Suite distribution.
Okay, great. Next question, can your customers use this application or is it mainly geared to sales?
Yeah, great question. So this is not an e-commerce system. This is primarily geared towards sales. What we found that customers use heavily is our exporting of buying guides. So effectively what we'll do if the customer wants to receive a buying guide, they can then download a spreadsheet and then the customer would fill that in, but the sales rep would still push it back. But this is primarily an internal application for the sales organization.
All right, and a follow-up question from the one prior. I'm assuming that WP is a cloud-based solution. Is this correct?
Yes, it is a cloud-based system.
All right, next question.
But obviously we have real-time connectivity back to the ERP system.
Next question, how can you tie vendor quote special pricing to your customer quote?
Okay, great question. So if the vendor quote or the vendor pricing is set up in the ERP system, then obviously that information can be accessed. Any pricing contracts or special vendor rebates, etc., can come back. But if your sales rep is working with the vendor themselves, you'll notice here on the cost side, you can actually import in or edit the vendor cost or the cost and come up with your own special cost. So in this particular case, if we've negotiated a cost of 50 cents per roll, I would add a comment in here, so vendor cost. I can save that, and of course then the margin and the margin calculations get updated accordingly. So we do tie in special pricing, and that will then push that cost back into the ERP system.
Next question, does WPCRM integrate with any e-commerce platform?
Yeah, so right now, out of the box, we integrate with Unilog, Sim2. We integrate with Insight. We also have customers running on Magento and one, two other e-commerce systems, but those are all built based on just custom integrations to those platforms.
All right, next question. Is this product for web UI only on previous versions of SX.e?
No, it's both. It works on all the way of SX.e all the way back to version 5 and early versions, but also version 6 through 11, and obviously web UI as well.
All right, great.
We use both the old Infor SX APIs, the WCF services, and the new REST services, the ION APIs as well, depending on what version of SX our customer's on.
Any more questions? It looks like that's it for now. If you have any more questions, please go ahead and send them in. But if not, we will turn it back over to Gary.
Looks like one more came in.
Yep, one more question. Is this price per user or as a service?
Yeah, it's per named user. So if the user can log into the system, there's a monthly subscription fee for that single user.
Great. And that looks like
very good. Well, thanks very much for your time. Obviously, it's hard to squeeze in all of the features and capabilities in 30 minutes. I do appreciate your time. And again, I'll throw up our contact information on the screen. And by all means, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. My name's James Gertis. Amanda Cucciello is here on the line, and Jeff's the man to contact if there's any inquiries about any customers that are interested in having further discussions with us.
We'd like to thank everyone for attending the WebPresented webinar this afternoon. It will be available tomorrow on our YouTube channel or from the front landing page by clicking on the YouTube icon on the TUG website. Thanks so much to everyone at WebPresented, and as they say, that's a wrap.